Evangelist Dorinda Clark Cole has a mission in church and among diabetes patients. She grew up watching her mother, also a celebrated gospel singer, suffer the ravages of the disease.
She had a problem with her feet. It started swelling. It started with her toes, where there was basically gangrene was setting up in one of her toes. So then they had to finally amputate the toe. And then it went on and went on and went on. And then she had her foot amputated. And from then on, it was her leg. After having done all of that, she was saying that, well, I still know there's hope. I still know there's hope. And she would never give up. She just kept on.
The Clark sisters lost their mother and then their father to diabetes. So Dorinda now works to educate patients to take care of themselves, because it doesn't have to be a road toward misery and death.
I knew this is one of the key things that we, as people that have or have families that are hereditary to diabetes, if you have a history of it, you've got to make sure that you don't do the things that they did to, to make you get to that state.
First, know the symptoms. If you're tired for no reason, lose weight for no reason, urinate frequently, are constantly thirsty, have vision trouble, many vaginal, gum, and skin infections, feel a tingling or numbness in your fingers or toes, if cuts and scrapes heal slowly, or if you had diabetes during pregnancy, you should ask your healthcare provider for a diabetes test. It's called a fasting plasma glucose.
The fasting plasma glucose is that level of blood sugar that occurs when you haven't eaten anything for 8 or more hours. We use that as a screening test to see whether or not a person has slipped into the diabetic range of blood glucose levels.
The fasting plasma glucose measures the sugar in your bloodstream. Remember, too much sugar in the blood can cause damage throughout your body. A fasting plasma glucose below 75 is healthy. 75 to 110 indicates possible risk. 111 to 125 indicates impaired glucose tolerance. And 126 or higher is considered diabetic.
You've got a strong bounding pulse.
You might be asked to take a follow-up test, measuring the amount of glucose kept in your bloodstream right after a meal. Even if you don't have symptoms, you should consider being tested for diabetes if there's a lot of it in your family.
I have a strong family history of diabetes. My father has diabetes, and my mother's mom had diabetes, along with 3 of her sisters.
Leslie learned she had diabetes after a hospitalization for an illness affecting her pancreas, the organ that produces insulin. From the start, she took an active role with her healthcare providers, taking notes and asking questions.
Currently, you're checking your blood sugar twice a day.
Doctors, nurses, and educators helped her choose the monitoring device, diet, and treatment that worked best for her lifestyle.
Communication in managing diabetes is extremely important, such that the patient communicates to their healthcare provider what problems they may have regarding their diabetes control, how well their control is maintained, and if there are complications.
Spirituality and good health goes hand in hand.
Spirituality is Fred Hammond's daily bread. And as a gospel singer and composer, he loves to share the wealth.
People need hope, and I like to give them hope and just give them a little joy. When you have that joy, you can find strength to make it another day.
But despite the music, Fred Hammond was running out of strength every day. It took a while for him to tune in to what his body was telling him.
Something was happening. I noticed some swelling in my feet. I would ride the bus and constantly thirsty, and my bathroom pattern, your constant urination. It was just really out of control. I just happened to go to the doctor just to have him give me a little something to pick me up, and they took my blood sugar and they didn't let me go home. I could have died. And that's when a lot of people catch it, after it's way, 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 way too late.
Fred's type 2 diabetes diagnosis came early enough for him to focus on handling the disease with lifestyle modifications. His awareness of the danger is acute. One friend almost went into shock when his sugar got too high. Another friend died from complications.
And before he died, I talked to him, and he said his kidneys had totally collapsed and failed. He was on dialysis. And one day he was in the hospital right on, on the machine. He was watching TV, and he said everything just went black. And he went blind.
That's what motivates Fred to get serious about what he's eating. He knows being overweight is a major factor for developing diabetes and for letting himself get out of control.
Being in the studio, I kind of got sedentary. I got, it's pushing buttons and moving knobs, and then you pick up some weight, and your lifestyle is you eat later sometimes, you travel in the day, you rest in the day, you do your concert, then that's when they start to come out. And they feed you and they're bringing this stuff, and it's like, oh man, But after a while, once you realize it becomes a health hazard.
Fred eliminated the fruit drinks he loved that were so full of sugar. He drinks water all day and tries to avoid running out for the wrong kind of lunch.
We're inundated with the fast food around us. And that's to get you quick so you can get in and get it out, and so we're working. We don't want to spend a whole bunch of time eating, and you're not paying attention. So when you go there, you're not, you're really thinking about the little rotisserie chicken thing. Let's get the rotisserie and maybe some baked but mashed potatoes. But then you're like, now give me those wings and then French fries, So you have to be careful. You got to be careful, man, because this thing will take you out.
Fred has plenty to live for. His spiritual strength shines through the music. And through the music, he has won honor and acclaim.
The biggest award that I'm proud of is the Platinum Plaques, because the people vote for that. By going to the stores and purchasing, that's a million copies sold of that.
Now, along with an awesome assortment of guitars and basses, Fred is collecting information about nutrition and prevention.
Prevention would be exercise and diet. Be careful, be conscious of what is going on. Know your doctor. Prevention is checkups. Get your blood sugar checked. Get your little blood sugar monitors. We have them, and I get up and I prick my finger and pop it in there to know to know what's going on. Those are all the things that'll help. You have to be careful with your, carbohydrates, your sugars, and you have to kind of chill that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
General nutritional advice for diabetes prevention and management is best put forth toward, one, maintaining closer to an ideal body weight. Exercise, proper balanced diet is important in terms of preventing diabetes and preventing long-term complications by helping to control diabetes.
For some people, the lifestyle diabetes demands comes easily. Willie Randolph's children had inherited an active lifestyle, and when Chantrae's younger brother developed diabetes too, they didn't miss a beat.
Yeah, I guess our family, we're all kind of athletic in some way. My brother also plays baseball. My sister's a dancer. I was a dancer and a cheerleader. So we've always been very athletic, into sports and exercise, and diet's always, I had to have a healthy diet when I was young. So, our whole family, we try to eat well.
The American Diabetes Association provides guidelines for good eating. While diabetics used to count sugar grams, the newer guidelines focus on counting carbohydrates. How many you can tolerate depends on your particular situation. Whether you have been diagnosed with type 1 or type 2, learning about making good food choices and what kind of exercise to get can be an important part of developing a diabetes strategy that works for you.
Diet becomes much more important when a person has diabetes. Under those circumstances, it's extremely important that a person undergo appropriate diet counseling, get instruction about proper cooking techniques, what kind of calories they should be taking in, what kinds of distribution of foods they should be eating in order to really properly maintain the levels of blood sugar, blood fats, and blood pressure that they need in order to prevent the complications of this disease.
Draw strength from your spiritual life, but you might have to change some of the rituals, the ones that lead to gaining weight.
Back in the day, they thought that exercise was worldly. They thought that, you know, because the Bible says bodily exercise profiteth little. So a community of churches, we became overweight because that's the thing we could do. We didn't go to bars. We didn't go to nightclubs. A lot of people didn't go to movies. We didn't have a life like that. So we would fellowship by eating, you know, and they sisters could cook. I mean, they could cook. Them rolls, man, I mean, chicken and some gravy and rice and all that stuff. That's what we did.
Find a rhythm that works for you. Walk instead of ride. Take the stairs. Be reasonable with your condition and with yourself.
If you did maybe a baked chicken on Monday, and then on Wednesday you did something like baked fish, you know, you can steal a little bit and take like one leg of a fried chicken. It's okay, you know, it's okay. But you got to make sure that you know, level it out.
To live well, to feel whole, means taking charge of your health. Acknowledge your risk, your condition. Learn how to cope. Get on with your life and lean on your faith.
Spiritual well-being, I believe, plays a role in treating all patients, whether they be diabetic patients or patients with other medical problems.
There's so many ways of trying to do the right thing.
Through proper diet and exercise and just having a positive mindset, you can still fulfill all of your dreams.
So away with this notion of diabetes being a death sentence. This is a disease that you can control, and that's something that we want people to understand and understand completely.
All the way around, I'm all right. I'm okay.
I'm fortunate that the only illness that I have, the only problem that I have with my health is my diabetes, and it's the least I can do is to take care of that.
I'm a diabetic, and I know some people that didn't even know I was diabetic. They say, you have diabetes? And I said, well, yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know it. And I said, well, it's really not that big of a deal. I'm like, I'm just like you, but I have to, you know, test my blood sugar and take my insulin. And I mean, you can live a completely normal life with diabetes.